Tradition, conservation, family, the outdoors. It matters to you. It matters to us. This is Hunting Matters, presented by Houston Safari Club Foundation. Here's Joe Betar.
Good morning once again. Welcome to Hunting Matters on KPRC 950. How you doing, Ramon?
I am well. Thanks for having me back.
Always, every week, joined by my buddy Ramon Robles. You know what? I had somebody reach out to me last week and said, "Can you guys just introduce yourselves as Batman and Robin?"
Oh, that'd be neat.
Yeah.
Who am I?
Well,
I'll be Robin. That's okay. That's fine.
We need to have like Batman, Superman.
Yeah. There we go. They teamed up.
Then we can do a whole show on the age-old discussion of who would win if they were to fight.
Oh, don't get me started. Oh, just like hog hunting last week. I could talk about that.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That could be the whole show.
That's right. How's your week been?
Everything's good. We have a big barbecue tonight, of course, given that it's the 4th. So my commitment to the show, I have literally a smoker full of meat at home smoking right now.
Really?
And I am here.
That's crazy.
I went to bed about 3 this morning.
Yeah.
Got a couple of hours of sleep.
Yeah.
I'm back up here. Got to go back and tend the fire. I have my wife tending the fire right now on the pit.
Is that a good thing?
She's a little inexperienced. I expect to get home and the pit will be at 120 degrees.
Yeah.
But that's fine.
That's okay.
It's been on long enough to where it'll be okay.
I got to tell you, I've gotten spoiled. My wife last year bought me a pellet grill for the first time, and it has changed the way that I cook. I mean, I cook everything, and it's got a side attachment that also has a small pizza oven.
Oh, wow.
Which is
that's
dangerous,
next level.
Which is a danger. It's not a big fancy thing. Basically, it sits on top of a burner, but it it encapsulates the heat. Tortillas, pizza,
I never
bread.
thought of tortillas.
You could cook them all out there.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So now it's kind of like when I'm not working all day, on the weekends. I cook Friday, Saturday, Sunday sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I just enjoy it. You turn them on, you set the heat temperature, you put the probe in.
I used to think it was cheating because I didn't own one.
Yeah.
And then I used one for a little while, and I thought, okay, I get it. No singed arm hairs, no singed eyebrows, messing with the fire. I get that. I respect it.
Yeah. It's not your tried and true traditional where you the science of maintaining your coals and all that sort of thing, but it sure does make it easy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It really is.
And it's good. You get good results from them, too.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, let's get on with our show. So, folks, today we've got a gentleman with us by the name of Rob Neilson. Rob is the head of the Ashby Bowhunting Foundation. He's been bow hunting about 40 years, or over 40 years actually, really all over the world. North America, Canada, hunting, also in Africa and New Zealand. And he's one of my favorite kind of people because he's a member of the Houston Safari Club Foundation.
Nice.
Along with several other organizations, including Dallas Safari Club, SCI, and some other groups. Rob is an understudy of the gentleman by the name of Dr. Ed Ashby, and we're going to be talking about Dr. Ashby today. Rob is the co-founder and the president of the Ashby Bowhunting Foundation. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate y'all having me on here.
How are you doing this morning?
Doing great.
Good. There's a lot of stuff that we can talk about the Ashby Bowhunting Foundation. I just really started to learn about it about a year or two ago. You and I have done some work together. You're going to be speaking at one of our helping us put on an archery event later this fall.
Yes.
And introducing people to archery. But tell us a little bit about the Ashby Bowhunting Foundation.
Ashby Bowhunting Foundation, we were at convention season several years ago, and we came up with the idea, how do we get this information out to the general public? Because it's such a wealth of information. And that's when we decided to start the foundation. And we moved forward, basically incorporated right here in Texas, had an attorney take care of it, took it a step farther, found a nonprofit accounting firm, and they basically took care of all of our information with the IRS to make us a nonprofit organization, foundation based on science and education. And so our goal basically is to help educate bow hunters to basically use the right equipment in their hunts and to bring the wound loss rates down to as low as possible.
Right.
And a lot of people think, okay, well, if I make the shot placement, if I put the arrow where it needs to be, that's all I need to do. Well, that is part of the factor. The rest of the factor and what we study is from the point of impact through that medium, through that animal,
Right.
make a good, clean kill. And we've seen a series of, over many, many years, a history of arrow failures, broadhead failures, and we just basically try to, okay, this is what works best.
So when you say arrow and broadhead failures,
Yes,
so to the listening audience that doesn't hunt with a bow and arrow,
yes.
what does that mean?
That means basically you shoot the animal and your arrow and or broadhead fails and your penetration stops.
Okay.
And that animal is wounded
Right.
and lost.
Which leads you down a whole another path, because
Yes.
I don't know of a single hunter that hunts with a bow and arrow that hasn't at least once in their lifetime wounded and had to track and recover an animal. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah, and that can change the whole
Yes.
experience for you.
Correct.
So what you guys are doing as far as educating the general public and bow hunters and archery people on proper penetration, not having to track and recover that wounded animal, that's critically important.
Yes, very, very important. And so we've basically taken it a step farther. We've talked to Texas Parks and Wildlife, to their Hunter Ed division. They basically embraced what we were doing, because basically we've got Doc's 30-plus years of outcome-driven research, another 15 years of data points from manufacturers that follow Doc's studies and manufacture their products to comply with Doc's studies. And so, I mean, we've got one arrow kills on literally thousands of animals all the way through elephant that strongly validates this the studies.
Wow, elephants. That's crazy, Ramon.
That with an arrow?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. One arrow kills.
Wow. There's so many. Just a typical arrow that you would use for. Do you get a bigger arrow? I don't understand.
Well, it's not
visual.
It's not really a bigger arrow, but it's an arrow designed after basically from the 30 years of Doc's studies, he came up with 12 penetration enhancing factors. Wow. And that's what we do our seminars on for Texas Parks and Wildlife, for the Hunter Ed instructors, so they can take this and teach the bow hunters that are coming into their classes, and that's in an effort to basically help reduce the wound loss rates.
Yeah. Where do you aim an arrow on an elephant?
Through the shoulder, through the heart, lungs.
And they drop?
Catch them broadside.
Yeah.
Literally down within 30 seconds. Wow. Done. Over.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we're going to take a quick break right here on Hunting Matters on KPRC 950. We'll be right back to talk a little bit more about Dr. Ed Ashby. Good morning and welcome back to Hunting Matters on KPRC 950. Good morning, Ramon.
Good morning. I just got off the phone with my wife. She said my roast is overcooked. She said it looks burnt. I just patted her. I just told her I loved her and that she was pretty.
How long have you been married?
11 years.
Well, you've got it down to a fine art now.
That's okay, baby. We'll eat the burnt brisket. It's okay.
You know what the two most important words are to a marriage, right?
What's that?
Yes, dear.
Yes. Correct.
All right, let's get back to our show and our guest. We're here with Rob Neilson, who is a co-founder and president of the Ashby Bowhunting Foundation. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you being here. So we talked a little bit in our first segment. We talked a little bit about some of the things surrounding the Ashby Bowhunting Foundation. Now, I'm curious. Co-founder. You're the co-founder. So did you call up Dr. Ed Ashby and say, hey, I got a great idea? How did that come into play?
Well, a while back, when I first started bow hunting, I never really had much of an issue. Never gave it two cents of anything about what I was doing, going out shooting things, killing things. And then the light and fast craze came through the archery world, and I bit off on it, and I started basically losing animals that I knew should have been full pass-throughs.
So what's the light and fast craze?
The light and fast, let's shoot the lightest arrow we can and get it as fast downrange as we can.
Got it. Effectiveness is not an issue, just light and fast.
Just light and fast, and let's get the arrow there as fast as possible.
Okay, sorry to interrupt. I was curious. So
that's fine. No, that was years ago, and I think we're kind of seeing a shift out of that now.
Right.
Why was there a shift out of that? Because of what you said?
Speed sells.
Oh, okay.
Speed sells. And so, I mean, they were like, hey, and it's primarily geared toward target archery versus hunters.
Yeah.
But a lot of hunters bid off on it as well. And but the target archery crowd is like, okay, I need to shoot flat and hit this dot, and that's all they're concerned about is touching that dot.
Yeah.
Whereas we're concerned about once you make impact, getting on through. So anyhow, once I started having those arrow and broadhead failures with the light and fast, I started looking into it. I was like, there's got to be a better way. I mean, the stuff I was using works. What's the difference? I'm going to start going back to this stuff. And I started looking into it, and I found Dr. Ashby's studies, and it was right down the list. I mean, his first first penetration enhancing factor is structural integrity. If you don't have structural integrity in your arrow and broadhead system, you're not going to get any penetration, period.
Right.
And so I took it a step farther and started talking to the manufacturers that were following his guidelines to manufacture their equipment. And I was like, is there a way I can meet this guy? And they said, well, we'll find out for you. And so I get a call back from him later. Yeah, okay. Here's his email and here's his phone number. And so I took it a step farther, and we found him. And and by that time, all his research was online in various places, and I went to these various places, pulled it all, started reading all of his research over and reports and everything. And so that's how I ended up chasing Doc down and meeting him. And then, like I said, we were at during convention season, and the idea came up to form the foundation. I was involved with it from day one, and it's pretty funny. Once we formed the foundation, we had to basically name officers, and I was like, "Hey, Doc, do you want to be the president? It's your name on the door."
Sure.
So, and he's like, "No. I've been on the front lines already for years." He said, "You do it." I was like, "I don't know about that." And Todd Smith, who's another one of our directors, I asked Todd. I was like, "Todd, you need to be president." No, you do it. And I asked Jake Thompson, and he's like, no, you do it. I was like, well, okay, by default, I'll be the president. So
yeah,
but we're all four involved.
So is this a full-time job or? No,
it's what I do at nighttime for fun.
Wow.
Oh wow.
So,
but it sounds like a full-time gig, kind of. It's
it's when I'm not doing my day job. That's my night job.
What is your day job?
I work in the upstream oil and gas industry.
Okay.
So yeah, I keep a full schedule rolling.
Yeah, there's
full-time.
no cause for panic there.
No.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about Dr. Ashby.
He is a walking encyclopedia of archery.
That's cool.
He basically, have you heard of the Natal study?
Yes.
Okay.
Heard of it. Couldn't quote anything about it to you right now.
It was a 4-year study sanctioned by the South African government, and he was part of that team that was sanctioned by the South African government because originally archery hunting was illegal in South Africa.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Based on this study, South Africa legalized archery, and then all the other sub-Saharan countries followed suit.
Study that he put together.
That he was participating in. And so basically the study, it was very controlled. The shots that they were doing, they would go out and they would call animals. And within the first 30 minutes of that animal hitting the ground, they would run these arrows in them to test them to try to get it as close to a live animal as possible.
Right.
But after 30 minutes, rigor mortis, everything starts setting in, they move on. But they basically collected 118 data points per shot, per arrow shot, and what works, what doesn't work. And so, and basically Doc was in Rhodesia at the time. Well, we know what happened back then, and he got basically told, leave or die. And so he ended up in Australia continuing his research on the Asiatic buffalo.
Right.
And so he's got like 30 years of research there, and that 30 years of research isn't what we think of as like, oh, we've got a 1 month, 2 month hunting season here in the U.S. His was 300 out of 365 days of research. So it's quite extensive. So,
you know what, Ramon, what that kind of makes me think, when our first segment he talked about manufacturers, and now he's talking about opening up hunting areas. Many of us are familiar with Fred Bear. He's a legend in the archery history books. I don't think as many people are as familiar with Dr. Ashby. I mean, here's a guy that has influenced manufacturing decisions.
Yeah.
He is basically taking manufacturers of broadheads and arrows and that sort of thing, and they've taken notice of his studies and the research that he's done tirelessly over the years. And then you've got federal governments in other countries. So that's pretty cool to be working with a guy, and the time you must be able to spend with him to pick his brain for a guy who's impacted hunting with a bow and arrow so much.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And, well, believe me, when I go sit down with him, and he lives here in Texas, when I go sit down with him, I just shut up and listen. I mean, it's like there's nothing else for me to do. So, but yes, he is he's just literally a super, super nice guy, one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, and a wealth of knowledge on archery.
That time is invaluable to spend with these legends in hunting, outdoors, conservation, whatever. It's just I look back on my own grandparents, and you go, gosh, I wish I was a little bit older, a little more mature to sit down with a video camera and listen to them and pick their brain. I mean, my grandmother talked about she remembered that they moved from Alabama to Louisiana in a covered wagon. She was 101 when she died. So that's just cool that we need to not lose our focus and seek out these sources of information, whether it be archery or rifle or planting. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's just you got to take advantage of those resources.
Yeah, and Doc's told me, he's like, oh, yeah, I met Fred Bear in camp and all this stuff. And he knew all these guys, so all those legends that we all know about.
Yeah.
Fred Bears, Ben Pearsons. And
I think you can probably put Dr. Ashby up there in those books as well.
Yeah. Oh, I
based
agree.
on what we're learning.
I agree. And then so with the foundation, I mean, we've taken it with Texas Parks and Wildlife this year in the 2020 NBEF book. Texas Parks and Wildlife actually did a blow-in for Dr. Ashby, delineating the 12 penetration enhancing factors.
Wow.
And then for the 2020 book, they actually listed the Ashby Bowhunting Foundation as in their Bowhunters resource directory.
That's great. Yeah, that was one of the questions I actually was going to ask you. Do you guys develop and distribute and communicate educational programs?
Correct, yes. And we're the part we're doing for Texas Parks and Wildlife is something, I mean, of course they focus on tree stand safety and hunter safety, but they've never really talked about for the arrow penetration part of it.
That's awesome. Wow, learning a lot today. Absolutely.
Yeah, this is going to be good.
All right, let's take a quick break here on Hunting Matters on KPRC 950. We're here with Rob Neilson of the Ashby Bowhunting Foundation. We'll be right back. Good morning. Welcome back to Hunting Matters on KPRC 950. I'm your host, Joe Bitar, and as always, here with me this morning is Ramon Robles. Good morning, Ramon.
Good morning. Coffee's hot. Everything's going well.
Love a good hot cup of coffee. Absolutely.
Although you put a lot of whipped cream in yours, Joe.
No, I don't. You're just lying. You're just going to make me look
makes
bad.
me nervous.
I used to put a lot of sugar in it. I had to back off of that.
Ooh.
You get older, your body does not digest the sugar and the carbs.
I haven't had sugar I haven't had sugar in about 4 months. That's a true story.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the movie Step Brothers?
I have. Yeah.
There's a scene where the brother walks in. He goes, "Look at these bad boys," and he shows them the abs. He goes, "These bad boys hadn't seen a carb in 8 months," or something like that. And the movie always makes you laugh.
Yep.
It's definitely a hunting camp movie. That and Tombstone.
Oh my goodness.
Those are two movies we always watch in hunting camp and laugh, and it's almost like those. You can hear the people in the room saying the lines as they're speaking them. So
it's Tombstone is a movie you watch no matter where you are when it comes on. You just sit and watch the rest of it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where you see it or where you jump into it. It's always a good movie.
Yep.
Always a good movie. Well, this morning on Hunting Matters, we've got a guest with us, a gentleman by the name of Rob Neilson. Rob is the co-founder and the president of the Ashby Bowhunting Foundation. Good morning. How are you doing, Rob?
Good morning. Doing great. How about you?
I'm tongue-tied this morning. I think I might need a third cup of coffee.
Well, you just had your first grandchild, and so your mind is all over the place. We can't blame you for that.
Yeah, pretty excited about that.
That's pretty cool. What was the birthday? Do you remember? Was it July?
No, it was last Saturday.
Okay.
A week ago today, late at night. I've not seen her yet. I'm going to see her. We couldn't go to the hospital, of course, because of the COVID. So I'm going up to Norfolk, Virginia. My son's in the Navy. He's stationed up there, so I'm going to go up to Norfolk and get to see her for the first time. There's no point in me going up early. I couldn't go to the hospital, so yeah.
Well, good luck. That's fun.
Little Frances
Congrats.
Olivia.
Fantastic.
We were excited. Yeah,
Congratulations.
My wife's already there. Of course, she was there way before I was. So.
Of course.
But we're excited. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. So we've been talking to Rob this morning about the Ashby Bowhunting Foundation and Dr. Ed Ashby. Before I get too much further, where can people find more information on the Ashby Bowhunting Foundation?
We've got two sources that you can tap. If you want to go on the internet, the webpage is ashbybowhunting.org.
Okay.
And recently we just did a small series of videos for YouTube. So we actually started a YouTube channel and have Doc on there talking about the 12 penetration enhancing factors. And we also have him talking with Texas Parks and Wildlife. So you can hear it directly from the horse's mouth.
Yeah. And we're actually, you guys were kind enough to share those with us, and we've been posting them on our social media as well with some great reach and great engagement on them.
Great. I appreciate y'all sending that out.
Yeah, the videos. I mean, we live in a disposable society, Ramon.
Yeah.
People want to consume stuff. They want you to just spoon feed them, and so the videos always seem to gain more traction than just putting out notices or information on social media. So I think they've been a fantastic tool.
Yes.
How long had you guys been working on accumulating the videos?
We knocked those videos out in a matter of about 2 hours.
Wow.
Fun.
If that long.
Geez, that's.
Yeah, we just set up the camera and had Doc start talking, and
you guys do those out of his place?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yes, sir.
Really cool. So we were talking a little bit earlier about the materials. Of course, you guys have them at ashbybowhunting.org. You've got them on your YouTube channel, and you've done stuff with Texas Parks and Wildlife. Do you guys do any in-person seminars, and are they adult-focused, youth-focused? Tell me a little bit about those.
Yes, and we, in addition to TPW, training the hunter ed instructors, we will do seminars for any bow hunter. We're here to help any bow hunter worldwide, doesn't matter where they're from, what they're shooting. And some of the interesting stuff that we see, we've seen over the course of time is the lighter poundage, shorter draw shooters. So the say youth and women.
Right.
We've got many cases of these light pounded short draw shooters getting full penetration pass-throughs on bull nilgai. I just recently built a lady that's working on going to Africa. She wanted to shoot a Cape buffalo, so I built her arrows up, and she's pulling a 50-pound bow. And I told her, yeah, she was like, do I need to get to 60? I'm like, don't worry about it. I was like, I'll build you your arrow that'll work. Well, I built her arrows out, basically, technically 800 grains, 31% forward to center, follows all 12 penetration enhancing factors.
I understood some of those words.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, when the spiral of different types of bows and all that, I just see a sharp stick.
Okay.
But you're talking about weights and grams, and so you're talking about the weight of the actual bow.
Weight of the arrow.
The arrow, yeah,
Weight
of course.
Arrow, yes.
Yeah.
And then the 50 pounds is the actual poundage to draw the bow and release the arrow.
And the heavier the draw,
the more efficient that bow is.
Okay.
So
it's going to go straighter, further.
Yeah, it's just going to launch that arrow more efficiently.
Yeah.
So just think about, you can tell me if I'm totally off base here, but if you think about if you're doing using dumbbell weights and you lift a 30 versus a 50 versus a 70.
Yep.
So the amount of strength that's required to pick that weight up off the floor, let's say you're doing dumbbell rows, is akin to draw weights on a bow.
Yeah, okay.
And they can tighten and adjust the bow so you can have a higher draw weight, which generates more velocity, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. It just makes it more efficient.
But then the 12 points that we've been talking about, I mean, there's other fine-tuning of the arrow and
oh, absolutely.
Just the aerodynamic of it, I guess, the way it flies.
Yes, the way it flies. And so, yeah, we can dive down into those 12 factors and go off into rabbit holes and be here for hours.
Yeah, fascinating.
But back to the lady that I built the arrows for, she wanted to test it on Asiatic buffalo right here in Texas. So I went with her and her husband, and she and just on the way I asked her, I was like, have you ever made a frontal shot? And she's like, well, no. I was like, well, it's like these Asiatics. I was like, if they get into a defensive mode, that might be all you are presented with is a frontal. And I started talking to her about that, and she was a bit nervous.
Frontal being as the animal faces you.
Frontal as in the animal's facing you, about to come see you. And so we went up to this ranch, and that is what she was presented with. Well, and she was nervous, and I was standing right behind her, and I calmed her down. I was like, she couldn't tell the distance on her rangefinder sight. It was built in on her sight, and she couldn't see the distance. And I just said, it's within 20 yards. I was just whispering
That
in her ear.
close. It was 20 yards from you.
No, it was probably within 20 yards. And I was like, put your pin below his chin and release the arrow. And she did. And I saw the arrow trajectory, and actually I've got it on video. But saw the fletching just disappear. And when we were cleaning it, and this is a 2,000-pound animal, he spun, ran about 50 yards, stood there for about 30, 35 seconds, down, done, over. And when we were cleaning it, granted this is a 50-pound bow, using the right arrow, she had around 6 feet of penetration on that animal. It was the arrow stopped back in its pelvis.
Wow.
So,
That's a lot, right? I mean, that seems a lot. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Wow. Now, are you armed in case she misses or wounds it or
Yes.
scuffs it a little bit?
Yes.
With the bow or with the rifle?
Rifle.
Yeah.
Rifle. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, a dangerous animal like that,
Yeah, that was my next point. I've seen Dances with Wolves. Those, buffalo will charge.
Yeah.
They'll hurt you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Asiatic water buffalo, consider a bison, and elevate their bad mood times about 1,000.
Right.
They are not happy animals.
Okay.
No.
No. This one was not a happy animal.
Especially if you're shooting at it.
Or anywhere near it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
They do not like human beings being close.
Wow.
Yeah.
And 20 yards, within 20 yards, that's extraordinary.
Yes. Yes.
So she got the job done
She got the job done.
with
And
50 pounds
50 pounds.
on a giant animal,
Yes.
just because the combination of the arrow and the broadhead
Yes.
were matched appropriately.
Yes.
And, of course, shooting technique.
Yeah. Shooting technique. Everything was it was dialed in for her bow. I mean, she had all the 12 factors. I mean, the structural integrity was there, the perfect flight. And flight is something a lot of people get off base on. They just pick up a bow and go shoot it, and they don't realize, oh, well, I'm getting poor penetration. Well, your arrow's not flying perfectly.
Yeah.
And if your arrow's not flying perfectly, it's basically hitting the animal sideways. So,
Yeah.
and that's going to basically, I mean, it's going to reduce your penetration right there. So, but the perfect flight is the enabler of everything else to get that arrow through there, to carry that, basically carry all the momentum perfectly into the animal. So,
Yeah. I mean,
through the animal, hopefully.
it's amazing that you can get all that done thinking about all that you can pull a bow. Once you're in the heat of the moment, it's all on. But I mean, it does require planning. It's not just drawing back a stick and a string, as they say.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's my perception of bow hunting. You just pull back the pointy stick and boink, off it goes.
Yeah. The biggest animal, one of the largest animals I shot with a bow and arrow was a stag in New Zealand. And I walked into the archery shop and I said, look, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to hunt it until I get it with a bow and arrow. I'm not taking a rifle with me. And I need you guys to coach me up on arrows, broadheads, because I use a fixed broadhead. I'm nothing fancy.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you what, I took that animal at 48 yards with the appropriate combination that they had. It ran about 10 yards and it was done. It was
Beautiful.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But that felt good.
Well, let's take a little break here on Hunting Matters on KPRC 950. I'm your host, Joe Bitar. With me, Ramon Robles, and our guest today, Rob Neilson from the Ashby Bowhunting Foundation. We'll be right back.
What you doing?
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Hunting Matters on KPRC 950, brought to you by Houston Safari Club Foundation. I'm your host, Joe Bitar. With me, as always, is my co-host, Ramon Robles. Good morning, Ramon.
Thank you for having me back. I appreciate it, Joe.
Thank you for having me back. Rob Neilson is with us today. We've learned a lot. Rob is the co-founder and president of the Ashby Bowhunting Foundation, and we've learned a bunch about hunting with a bow and arrow today. So you talked a little bit, Rob, about shooting elephants. You've talked about Asiatic water buffalo.
Yes, sir.
What's the largest animal that you've ever taken with a bow and arrow?
The largest would be a Cape Eland.
Okay.
And I shot him at, I don't know, 8-9 yards.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
But that was the largest animal I've killed. But I've been a lucky bow hunter. So
Yeah. Did you have like gummy bears in the other hand, or how did you get so close?
I I guess that alfalfa smelled good.
Oh yeah, you rolled around in it, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
So but that was the largest animal I've killed. But I've been lucky. I've killed several Cape buffalo,
Okay.
and then I've killed several big browns in North America.
Brown bear.
Brown bear, yes.
That's got to be a scary hunt.
Yes, sir. It is. There's some pucker factor moments going on there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So you have a particular incident that you were involved with the brown bear that you can tell us about?
Yes, sir. The first one I shot was a little over 20 yards, so that was pretty. It was pretty
Oh, so
uneventful.
far. Could you see it? I mean, geez.
Ramon, you know how tall those things get?
No.
Rob, tell him how tall that bear was.
This one was 9'9".
Holy moly.
So,
Yeah.
But then the closer encounter I had was he was only 9'3".
Oh, yeah.
So he was a baby.
Yeah.
But I was way out on the peninsula and basically watching a bear come up the river. And I was like, okay, he's going to come down this river. He's going to go on this trail. And it's like 30 yards from me. I got set up. And I was kind of up on a vantage point. Well, the bear comes down below me. And instead of continuing on that trail, they would have come out on my left and been a 30-yard shot. He turned on a trail and came right up real close to me. And so I had to basically reposition myself, turn around, because he was coming up on my
He didn't
right
see
side.
you. He just happened to be.
No, the wind was in my face. Everything was
Yeah.
fine. And I had an alder brush in front of me, basically blocking his vision of me.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm sitting there, and here he's coming up the trail, and I'm looking through the alder thicket, and, I mean, here comes this brown Volkswagen coming up through the alder thicket. And he steps out into the open, and he's kind of quartering toward me. And he's right there, probably 12, 11 yards, real close, and right in my lap. And I'm sitting there basically holding my bow at full draw. And he stopped, and I peeked up at his eyes, and I could see the white of his eyes, and he was sitting there looking at me. And I was waiting on him to basically take another step to get basically perfectly broadside for me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that didn't work. His next step was toward me, and he was basically going to be, he's coming to see what I was.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was going to be a friendly encounter.
Right.
So I made it basically just dump the string right then and loose the arrow. And it basically went through him diagonally, and it worked. Everything worked. But that was a close encounter.
Yeah.
Very close encounter.
Would you say that was more of a self-defense shot, or was that
Now, I was going to try to get that bear anyway.
regardless of what he did?
Yeah, it was the last day of the hunt. We were way out on the Alaska Peninsula, and as I released the arrow, I could hear the prop of the Super Cub coming to our camp to extract us.
Oh.
Wow.
So it literally was the last minutes of the day, and then the guide got on the radio and called the pilot and said, "Hey, we're right here on this knoll. You're coming straight over us." He said, "Literally, Rob just shot a bear, and it went over here." And he's pointing to the pilot as he's flying over, and so he banks around, and he's like, "Oh, I see the bear. He's right here. He's barely moving. He's right here," and dips his wing
To point.
That's cool.
to tell us where the bear was laying. And I'm like, "Okay, cool." So
That's really
he said,
cool. Or did you get that on film? Was that on video?
No, it was not on video.
So it might not have really happened.
Right.
So it might
He's
not
just
have
making
happened.
it up. I could just see that he's on video, and he turns to the camera after he makes a shot and says, "This segment brought to you by Huggies for Hunters." Because if you've got a brown bear that close, it is not cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not cool.
Yeah.
So what do you do with the bear, with that one?
That one, I made him into a rug.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've got him in my house. The first one I shot, I've got him life-size mount in my
That's beautiful.
in my home.
Have you ever eaten bear meat?
Yes, it's horrible.
I was going to ask.
Well, wait. Oh, it's all. I'll give
How
you
you
the
prep
typical, typical hunter statement. It's all how you prep it. There's a guy I believe up in Colorado that he takes, and it sounds disgusting, but he takes bear meat and he puts it in mason jars, and he comes up with this pickling juice, but it's made with blueberries.
Okay, you're right. It sounds disgusting.
But they say when you take it out and cook it, it's got a real fruity flavor. But bear typically is fatty, greasy, gristly.
Yes.
But I'm a firm believer, and it's all in the way you prepare it.
I'll try
cook
it.
I am.
If you got any, I'll try it.
The way he described it, gristly, greasy, that's just the way I remember it. So.
Yep.
So brown bear is more apt to charge you, unlike, I guess, a black bear who's going to
Yeah, I
run away.
mean, he was going. This was in October, so he was going into hibernation and looking to fatten up. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I would have just been something else to fatten up on. So,
Yeah.
Oof.
They're you know, I have a high amount of respect for black bears and brown bears, all bears. And a lot of people think, oh, they're so cute and cuddly. Let's get out of the car in Yellowstone and let's feed them.
Wave at them. Yeah.
You never want to be near them, especially when a sow has cubs. And a lot of people don't realize as cuddly as they look, they eat their own.
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, they are carnivores. They are cannibals to an extent. I mean, they're true, wild, dangerous animals. I mean, have a respect for the beauty of them, but at the same time, they are not to be cuddled.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
And you took one down with a bow and arrow. That's fantastic.
That's very cool.
Well,
I've done black bear with a bow, but I've not had the opportunity to get close enough to a brown bear to shoot one.
Yeah.
Have you tried?
No.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
on my
no.
bucket list. Moose and brown bear are probably in the top right now. I've always wanted to shoot a brown bear with a bow. First time I went black bear hunting, I told my wife, I'm going to go get it out of my system. And, I always was curious about it. And after the first time I went, I was hooked.
Yeah. For bear specific?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just exciting.
Yeah.
Real exciting.
I bet.
I mean, I've had sows. I've had young Bruins jump up in the tree with me. In one leap, they're halfway up the tree where I'm sitting in the top of the
Just
tree.
to play with you, or were
Just
they
curious if you've got anything with
Right.
you or it has any food smell to them. They're curious animals, but they are big, strong, and aggressive.
Yes.
So, Rob, do you prefer to hunt? I want to ask you a couple of questions, personal questions. Do you prefer to hunt with a compound bow, traditional bow? What's your preference?
I've hunted with both. I'm more accurate, obviously, with a compound bow
Right.
than I am traditional. But my local hunts, pigs, things like that, I'll take my longbow and go shoot hogs and things like that. But my big hunts that I go on, in case I get that 30, 35-yard shot on the animal that I'm after,
Right.
and I'm just not as accurate with my longbow, so I'll take the compound. So
Got it.
I practice pretty much with my compound constantly. So
And do you shoot? Are you an instinctive shooter without a sight or without
with
your traditional?
With traditional, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no sights, there's no nothing. It's
Got
all
it.
so.
Got it. So, what is it that draws you to bow hunting?
Got into it when I was 13, and I just love being outside. And I basically got the bow to spend an extra month in the outdoors.
Yeah.
Because we had gun season
That's
going
true.
on, and
didn't think of
then
that.
I was like, okay, well, bow season starts earlier than gun season, so I'm gonna get a bow. And one of my good friends, and he's still a friend of mine today. We get together and turkey hunt, but he was the first guy. He went out and bought a bow and basically influenced everybody in our little small town to get a bow. So
that's cool. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's one of the reasons why I bow hunt, because I'm out there a month before anybody else. That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So real quick, you got to go back on the peninsula, overnight trip. You got to pack a pack. You got your bow and your arrows. You can put 3 things in your backpack. What are they?
Rain gear and more rain gear.
On the Alaskan Peninsula.
Yes.
Okay, rain gear counts as 1. Give me 2 more real quick that you have to have for an overnight trip, but you can only take 3.
For an overnight trip, good tent.
Yep.
And good boots.
I'll accept that. He's going to starve to death unless he eats bear meat, though.
We better be a good shot.
Yes.
All right, well, Rob, thank you so much for being with us today. Rob Neilson, co-founder and president of the Ashby Bowhunting Foundation. We really appreciate you being here. You can learn more about the Ashby Bowhunting Foundation at ashbybowhunting.org. Thanks, everybody, for listening this week. Please be sure to join us next week when we have Luke Hilgeman, the president and CEO of Hunter Nation and Hunter Nation Foundation. We're going to talk about the importance of getting hunters out to vote.
Thank you for having me.